Hello, welcome everybody. It is my great pleasure to introduce Shanu Sharma. Shanu is from the School of Architecture and Design in Bhopal, and her expertise is in Stigmergy. Her lecture and actually my and her collaboration is supported by the Global Challenges Research Fund. Originally, we were planned to meet each other. She was supposed to come to Cardiff and I was supposed to come to India. However, that is not possible, but we decided to be flexible and do online workshops and sessions and use the travel budget for actually developing to interact with the communities instead of interacting with the communities real life, which is now much less possible. But I mean, it is not, I wouldn't call it a big harm. I think we should be taking an advantage of this, and I think it's just a great opportunity to develop our research a bit different way than we originally planned and learn new things. So welcome,
Yes.
And the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you. So let me, can I just present my screen? Is it possible?
Yes, should be possible now. Just make to co-host.
Okay. Yeah. So I hope the screen is visible to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So hello, everyone. Once again, I just want to introduce myself and thank you so much. This is my great pleasure that I'm here with you. Okay. So yeah. So I'm Shanu Sharma. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Design at School of Planning and Architecture in India, Bhopal. So today, I just want to give you just overview about what you're going to experience in this short talk today. So I did my PhD in understanding that how natural system and how self-organization takes place in natural system and understanding the similarity between the self-organization in the natural system and in the real world application of human ecosystem, the ecological system, socio technical economic system that we have, ecology. So it's very interesting. I was always fascinated with the idea of this distributed networks and the idea of how the self-organized emergence takes place, although there's a smaller activity that is taking place at the local level, and then there's a global complexity that we could see. So in the coming, once we are growing in this lecture, you will try to understand and get accustomed with the terms that I'm using in this. So today I'm going to talk about some of these rules and my own learning from my PhD about these rules of entangled complexity from nature to the world of artificial. So if we see today, human ecological system are very interesting because human has such cognitive capability that, and the beautiful aspect of that human cognitive capability is that we never stop creating more artifacts. We never stop in growing our knowledge. We keep on growing from the existing knowledge to newer knowledge, and this growth is happening right now and it will happen in the future also. But what is happening in this entire scenario that we are interdependent with with our environment, the artifacts that we are producing, and the human interaction that we are changing. So each aspect, like environment is changing because we are creating more artifacts. When I'm saying more artifacts, we're talking about more buildings. As a designer, we are designing more buildings, we are designing more products, we are designing more services. All these things is creating more waste also. So all these things that are artificial is, or like in the book that is said about the science of artificial, I'm talking them and referring them as artifacts. So constant interaction of artifacts with environment and humans are creating a positive and negative change. And now we have understood the idea of sustainable living. From the practices that has happened in past, we have seen the kind of unintended effect that has made the entire practice so unsustainable. And now we are coming to that discourse where we have understood the potential of designers, that how by designing and taking a responsible decision at the level of design phase, we can actually create an very planned intended impact or positive impact on environment and also on human system. So the human well-being is again a very interesting thing, that it is dependent on the environment that we are living in. We constantly evolve and adapt as per our environment. So it is like, if it is pollution, it is again human created one. It is also affecting our health, it is also affecting our well-beings, and vice versa. This complex interconnection and interdependence creates the kind of balance and imbalance that in the world that we are living today. Now, it is also very important that in this current time, so this is the triangle that Latour has proposed about the actor network theory, and he said that human networks, artifact networks, and environment, they all are closely interlinked together, and whatever changes that we are seeing is because of these components interacting with them each other. So on a theoretical level, it looks very fascinating, but then it is very complex because there are networks of human social interaction, economic interaction, technological intervention at the level of artifact designing, and then consequences of biodiversity at the environment level. And if we see some of these complex, interactions that is driven by the human behavior and human need to know more, grow more, develop more, to the level of the climate change that we are seeing, because we are exploiting resources. And first of all, we are exploiting resources, and then we have no way to decompose our waste. So in both the cases, we are affecting our environment, and to a bigger level, we could see the idea of climate change that we all are witnessing today. But a lot of argument, that is so here comes a very important role of designer. What is the role of designer in this entire changing world? So if we see from 1970, where users were more like a target audience for consumer, design has grown and has understood the potential, and the horizon has changed. Now we talk about serious, complex concerns that designers play a very important role, where we can actually create better society. So Papanik has also asked this idea of democratizing designers. He said that everyone is designer. So when we talk about design, and we are talking design in terms of just consumerist behavior and consumerism, and to promote consumerism, um, Victor Papanik actually argued against it. He's saying designers are just not doing the profession in the best possible way. They have to be more responsible. And from that discourse till now, if we see, we have grown over this idea of users as consumer. But in the current discourse, as the Manzini said in 2015, he published a book about design when everybody is designed. He is trying to say that the designer's roles are going to change drastically when everybody is going to design. Now, this is a very interesting question, that we are talking about complex system, and we are saying designer diluting their power because everyone is designing. Here comes the idea that designers are in much more stronger position now than ever before, that designers can create or facilitate such, or they can empower user to such an extent that they can become designer at their level by providing design tools, that they can solve problem at their own local level. So this entire discourse is very important to say that the kind of mind frame that we have changed from 1970s to now current scenario, and we can see this maturity of thoughts growing, where designers are actually letting, or designers are facilitating and empowering agents at the local level to create change. So system thinking exactly explain the same thing, to understand that designers needs to know more and needs to see that it's unseen. That means the layers of complex networks, understanding patterns of behavior, understanding structure of system, how one network is interdependent on the other network and creating some different emergent complex challenge that we are looking at. And at the lowest level, you have to understand, at the bottommost level, you have to understand what kind of mental model this active agents or users have, that they are taking such steps and emerging as a complex global complex problem that we are looking at, or the complex behavior that we could see of the system. So right now, today in this world, we are living with an entangled complexity. Earlier, there was no such thing that, earlier we were not that connected, but yes, because of globalization and advancement of information communication technology, we are much more connected today. So I don't know if, this sort of interaction was possible almost like a decade earlier or 2 decades earlier. So that time also we were connected. We are, the system that we are living in, we just feel that these are boundaries of nation, boundaries of states. These are just hard bound boundaries that humans have created. But if we see our culture, our food habits, everything is more like a porous system, that, the climate that is changing here, it will also affect somewhere in the China. So we are living in the porous, boundaries where we share and we are connected to other countries and nation and everyone else. But because of the strong intervention advancement of information communication technology, we are living in a society that looks like this. There are multiple layers of networks. There was earlier time when few people were not connected to few people, but then if we see, it is a study was published in which they found that, every third or fourth person is connected to with some other network. So technically you are connected to many other networks. And if we see now, our networks are not just dependent on Facebook, it's not just dependent on the other social media that we are using, Twitters, but this is also connected the kind of shopping that we are doing. I'm not shopping only from India, I'm shopping all across the globe thanks to Amazon and other facilities like that. So, so all these behavior, like one review of mine is also affecting the other person to buy it or not. So somehow I am connected to that person because of this platform that has been created and the kind of flexibility it has created. So we are living in the current time, and it is a beauty. It is not that only designers have understood the power of networks. It is everywhere. It is everywhere, from from artificial intelligence to machine learning. They are exactly talking about these distributed and self-organized mechanism to learn in a in a more self-organized way, rather than a structured and a tree-like way that was proposed earlier. So if we see the growth in cognitive sciences, in neuropsychology, we are not just saying this has a linear connection to this. However, we are saying there is an emergent phenomena where layers of interactions are taking place. So this thing is valid in various, in biology, in maths, in physics. Now, so this is a very interesting trend that, once a knowledge is, changing in one particular field, it will has equal potential to affect many others. So this is again a very beautiful phenomena of the self-organized and emergent behavior. See, if we try to understand how our knowledge is growing, it is because we have so many books. We always refer those books, and we are building on that. Now we have papers that are published. Every time we are referring, we are also saying these are the sources. We are always tagging the references. That means we are growing over these knowledge. And that is what is important. And this says that, if I say this is the contribution, what I'm saying right now, no, it is an amalgamation of existing knowledge and my own experience. Based on that, I'm proposing this knowledge. So I'm not the inventor who did this for the first time, but because of amalgamation of the all the knowledge that I have read, and it has brought in to me to that level that I can understand and share this knowledge with you. So so just like as said earlier, that in the previous slides I was explaining about the changing role of designer, it is also important at this particular time because we can see how we are complexly connected by looking at this. The one thing that really bad happened in this particular year, that was about COVID. This is a very simple example or representation of how COVID, from a very localized market, spread all across the globe. It says that, even though we say our system is porous, but this is a very interesting, just 1 month scenario that they are trying to portray, that how within a 1 month period, the entire globe, this entire virus was spread all across the globe. And it says that, and it is not just about pandemic, it is about education, it is about many socio-technical system that we are in. Any invention at any corner of the world affects other part of the world also, either to trigger that idea in other places or to has some economic repercussion because of that thing. So this is just a representation that within just 1 month, that means from February 16th to 3rd or 16th March, from 6 people or 3 to 4 people in China, in Wuhan, the world, just in 1 month, we were affected by 181,000 people all across the globe. Yeah. So this pandemic has made this entire complex network more visible to us, that none of us are disconnected or living in an isolated environment. We are constantly dependent on our human interactions, artifacts, and the environment. It is constantly changing, and we are interdependent on all these complex networks. So some of the things that are here is it just a representation that how every single aspect, like it's not just about pandemic, it's about health, it's about agriculture, it's about economy, how all these things are so interconnected to various other aspects that you know that once you just try to change one aspect through a centralized scenario, it will affect and has a potential to affect every other thing. Like how, from national policy of economic development, it is actually triggering, or it is actually, you can see a network that is also connected to the climate change, the loss of biodiversity, and how global governance is so difficult and so complex to attain, because it's global governance is not just about resources. The moment you talk about resources, you will talk about financial security, you will talk about economy, you will talk about industries. So these are not just one umbrella term, it is a very complex networks of interaction that we are talking about, and how they are closely interconnected. So just with the case of pandemic, if we see, yes, this virus hit the entire globe, but it has affected every possible thing. It has affected the health, it has affected agriculture, it has affected the import export network that we had, education. And I think the worst that was affected by it was the education, that today we are, so it is also very interesting. Earlier we were thinking that by intervention of ICT, education reform would take place, but now we have understood that how much face-to-face interaction or an offline interaction is actually very important. So maybe in the coming years we also understand some technological intervention that we can make education accessible to all. So this is very interesting that at local level, just like the way a pixel emerged into the picture, So it is layer by layer, each pixels has some connection with the other pixels. And the moment we grow up, we could see the global picture once we are on top. And these are interconnected layers of networks that are connected. But in order to change at global image, we have to work on the pixel level. That means at local level, we require agents to be, actively participating to create a global level change. So now the role of designer is much different than just designing artifact, but empowering agents to create this change at pixel level, so that at every pixel level, once this thing is not fragmented but more coordinated, we could actually see the changes in the global image. So all the SGDs are possible only if we work in a more networked state, where or more self-organizing systems, where each pixel level can work themselves with better design tools, or being a designer solving local problems and creating a better global image. So yes, so if we see a complex problem has the nature of multi-networked phenomena, where one thing is affecting the whole. But the beauty about this entire thing is pixel is affecting the global image, and the global image is also affecting the picture. That means there is a constant, causal and consequence relationship between both. That means local actions that we are taking at local level will affect global, emergence of the behavior or global order. But it is also about that if we are coordinating at pixel level, then we can bring global level change. And constantly the global change is also affecting the pixel level. So that means the bad part is it is a very complex system. Sorry. But the good part about this entire thing, very small positive interactions have potential to change multi-level systems. So just like by improving education quality, we may change a lot many things, not just about this, but maybe financial security. The moment you're talking financial security, you are talking about food security. So like that, all these things are much more interconnected. Any positive change at local level will affect many other complex networks, but also it will affect the pixel level scenarios also. Yeah. So earlier we had more linear, articulated and structured approach towards designing, that by doing this, this will happen. Or a rigid organization that we have, a more hierarchical one. This is the boss, this is the coordinates, they are the sub boss, and like that. And they were more centrally controlled. On the other hand, these complex systems are more non-linear in nature. So different networks are affecting each other in a different way. They have an emergent behavior. They are not articulated. A positive effect may affect the bigger picture in a
Shanu, you seem to be frozen. Okay. I will just message. Now you were frozen.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Are you?
Now you are fine.
Can you hear me? Should I stop my video so that
is there a video? We don't see the video. We see linear and non-linear systems.
Okay, fine. So let me just.
So video is not playing here.
Because the video. Okay, no problem. So I will stop the video. Yes.
Yes.
I think this will make my internet much stable. So I hope we have discussed about this idea of non-central control. So this complex system is more like a non-linear system, and with limited control at the central level. It is more emergent phenomena where each pixel level coordination and behavior change is bringing a positive impact at the global image. So this idea is very interesting because this has a very similar behavior, how we can see how, a lot of species in nature has evolved. They have adapted interesting model of collective survival where, you know, uh, all these social animals, insects behave in a certain way so that, and they have devised ways to create the self-organizing emergent behavior at global level where each agent are working on part of the problem, and this mind of each individual are collaborated and connected in such a way that a global brain of the entire agents or all the natural agents, insects, are solving a problem of a very complex nature. So this brings a very interesting parallel between the natural world as well as the current world or the complex thinking that we are talking about. And the common term for this is known as swarm behavior. So swarm behavior is about collective interaction of agents to solve some problem or a task, that is where each agent is taking their own decision without knowing about the global act or about the global problem. So swarm behavior is an evolutionary phenomena of bottom-up coordination for system level problem solving among multiple distributed agents in nature for their own collective survival. So this is a very interesting thing that, swarm behavior has been thoroughly now understood to bring better solutions for governance, for medical, for service designing. So in swarm behavior, there's one particular kind of behavior that is known as, or a phenomena that is under swarm behavior is known as stigmergy. So what happens in swarm behavior, the interaction between agents could be direct. However, in Stigmergy, it is a self-organizing organizing mechanism of indirect coordination through environment between agents and action. So what it means that Stigmergy is a phenomena for multi-agent coordination where each agent work solely on the part of the problem without thinking about the global complexity. So that means each agent with their limited capabilities, they are just solving part of the problem. Okay. An interesting thing is here is this, that the entire communication between agent is completely indirect. That means the amount of work done in the environment is giving further more information to the next agent. So no two agents are directly talking to each other, but the problem is getting solved by individual efforts for the part of the problem. So this is exactly what I'm trying to talk about, the pixel to the global image. So each agents are solving pixel, or they're acting only at the pixel level and trying to fix each pixel, and a global emergence is taking place. None of the agents knows about the other agent, that what are they doing. So they produce seemingly complex intelligent structure without needs of any planning, central control, or even communication, or even awareness of the person. So in today's presentation, I will describe more about it. And yes, so this is a beautiful video of a flock of the birds. So this is a beautiful experience. I have observed it from my own eyes, not this video, but in somewhere the place in Ahmedabad in India. So you can see all these flock of the bird. If you see, imagine how it can be designed if some central, or someone is trying to choreograph this performance. The beauty here is each agent is acting on their own. None of the agent, or not even a centralized performance was taught to them. They are behaving only at the task level scenario based on the simple rules. And these are the rules that we are going to talk about. So this is a simulated version of the same flock of the bird by Renaud. And he postulated these three aspects, that how this flock of the bird is, is designed, and what is the rules behind this flock of the bird. And he found very simple three rules. First thing is separation. That means each bird or each flock of this bird has to keep a certain minimum separation between each of them. Another thing is alignment. Each of the bird has to just see where the entire thing is growing. So the thing is, at the level of the bird, see, we are looking at this video at a very distant level. That's why we could see the global behavior or the global image of how each part was interacting with the whole. However, when you are inside this thing, it is very difficult for you to understand the bigger picture. So only locally agents are interacting. How? Based on the neighboring alignment, each bird has to align themselves. So that means this entire, performance is completely distributed. No one is telling whom to perform what. And last thing is about cohesion. Is about none of the bird will grow out of this. You have to keep this on different levels. So basically, this action is performing at 3D level. So you have to be a part of the group. So even if you are going away or coming back, you always have to align yourself, keep a distance, and be a part of the group. So these are the simple three rules that is creating such a complex, performance at this level. And this performance are, if we see what was the purpose of this performance, so this performance is done for two things. Firstly, to get more food, and second, to showcase the strength of the flock. So what happens if a prey is nearby? By looking at this flock, and the similar thing happens in the case of fishes also. So what happens if there is a prey? They are unable to understand to catch whom, because there are so many. And everyone is moving at such a spontaneous and fast speed that it becomes very difficult. So this is the beauty of self-organized, evolutionary, adapted organizing, capability, just based on some simple rules. And these things have evolved. These birds have adapted this process, that how to get more food or to avoid the prey. And this is a process of adaptation. And adaptation for survival and adaptation has, with iterated rules, they have created this evolutionary model that is robust and flexible at the same time. Another example, if I try to explain about the termites. So the beautiful aspect about termites at individual level are blind. So they cannot see the bigger picture. But so this is a very interesting aspect, that, termites are blind. They cannot see that what they are doing, but collectively they are creating a termite hill. So what happens? The environment, so I will talk about this thing first. So yes, so termites make all these dumps, okay, mud dumps that they create, mud soil pellet, and they drop down at random position. So as seen in this picture, that a lot of termites are working and dumping at random location, and none of the termite are talking to each other, or they are just busy in working on dumping the soil at certain location. After a point of time, we see an emergent pattern where there is certain places there is density is higher of the pallet, and on other location density is lesser. And this emergent structure creates a termite hill as a whole, and that this termite hill is so beautiful that termites cannot survive beyond 20 degree of Celsius temperature, and they sustain in deserted area where your temperature is like 40 or 45, because they create this beautiful structure and architecture marvel that has inbuilt cooling tower and built AC or smart AC that they have. Based on these channelized air, they make this entire system very cool. But if we see that who has the shared plan, or or this architecture of this marvel that they have created? None of them. This entire thing is emergent. So based on local actions, that means this environment. So every mud that they are creating, it is, or the termite is acting on the environment, it is creating a change. A change is again observed by the agent. That means the another termite is changing this, looking at this particular change that is taking place. And it is giving a positive or negative feedback about whether to add more drop there or not to add. So more number of drop, if you have more, density of one drop, the agent will have more tendency to drop the pellet or soil in that same location. And somehow you will see start emerging the structure of column as wall. Yeah. So in this entire thing, agents are only interacting at environment, looking at only the state of work and triggering more action, because these rules are, they know where to drop the pellet or not. Okay, so this term was coined by Grassi in 1959. He coined this thing as Stigmergy, because stigma and eragon, where stigma means sign and eragons means action. So he said there's a constant action loop because of the sign it is getting created. So this became a very interesting phenomena for a lot of scientists in AI, who started understanding that, in this particular system, you don't need agents with lot of memories and intelligence, because the entire memory is already distributed in the environment, where agents are not remembering what action to perform. It is based on simple rules. That's how they are creating the bigger picture or emergent phenomena of the global problem solving that they are doing. So the beauty about this aspect is agents are interacting only at local level. They have no idea of global complexity or much more complexity. They are working only with the capability that they have and only solving a very localized problem that they are capable of. And they are not overwhelmed by the global complexity. That means if we try to understand whether a termite that is blind, can they actually see the whole termite hill? And imagine if they see the whole termite hill, will they be so much active or energetic to solve this problem? Maybe they will be overwhelmed by the problem and they will say it is not under the purview of one particular termite. But then collectively they are creating this marvel. Another thing, the dynamic of this local interactions are creating the self-organized outcome of a coherent system. So coordination is another thing that is important. So why do we need to learn about this or understand about this evolutionary framework? It is about these complex systems that we are living in today. It requires to understand in a complex way. We need to understand what could be a simple interaction that we can tap upon that can create a better impact. So first thing, to understand the complex system, breaking them into part and understanding the priority. Second thing is predicting. So if there is a complex system, how we can predict this thing, that how it will grow in different direction based on certain network behavior or certain changes in the network. And secondly, to design self-organizing system solutions. So that actually are complex system and has the capability of growing. So we have already discussed this thing. Yes. So a lot of scientists and researchers like Halligan, they are talking about that human has a lot of potential to create the idea of global brain, just like the swarm behavior, swarm intelligence, that will have a potential to solve any complex problem that we can witness, because humans have very higher capabilities, cognitive capabilities. And if we are aligned and coordinated together, we can solve some of the very challenging problems that we are witnessing today. And that could be one way of designing more sustainable future that we are always looking at. So these systems that we are talking about the natural system, they are not just there in natural system, but we also have various mechanism of rule-based self-organizing system, just like an ambulance. We have a simple rule. If there is a voice that is coming from a distance and you know it is the voice of the ambulance, please give the path. Imagine otherwise how much time a normal vehicle would take to reach at a particular destination. But we know this is an emergent or emergency situation, an urgent situation, and we need a coordination. So this kind of rule-based coordination is ubiquitous in human agencies and human systems also. It is not that it is just in the natural system where insects are doing it, but we are also evolving, just like our knowledge that I explained earlier. We are constantly evolving, and we also have simple rules because of which we are solving a bigger complex problems. So some of the common example that shares same emergent behavior and evolutionary framework that is applicable upon are Wikipedia, open source, Google Maps, IMDb, Ushahidi, and this folded game. So Ushahidi is a very interesting app. This is a very interesting app. What it does, it collects data, and then these data are further combined in terms of keywords on different platforms, social media platform, and then it is altered, and this information is provided to resourceful people who can actually bring change. So what happens in 2008, in Kenya, there was a sudden, violence erupted in their country. And what happened, that all of a sudden the main media was shut, because this is the first thing that happens if you have a situation like civil war. The first thing that will happen is about shutting down the media. So there was no information flow from that area where the violence was happening. So interestingly, this Ushahidi was emerged at that particular point of time, where local people start networking and started sharing photographs of the events. And these events were shared at a bigger platforms, and further more social media platform, and shared with BBC News and many other news. And what happens, within a period of 1 week or 2 weeks, people actually rescued those people who were stuck in that violent situation. So Ushahidi was again an example that evolved because of a collective survival reason. And now it has adapted to a different level. So this is again, now the Ushahidi has adapted to a harassment, so this is a model that they're doing in Egypt, where they have to actually tag if in certain location of the places there is harassment is taking place. So it is a very easy way of telling people, and they are just making it more available to people to actually talk about the harassment. And by knowing that which are the main peak points, you can actually devise, and they have connected this data with the right resources. So now police or other organization are trying to solve such issues at this particular places. So what are the reasons behind it? So what happens in normal collaboration, and that is happening in Stigmergy collaboration, that social negotiation takes place, and in this there is a collaboration in a very smaller group. So social negotiation is about, you have to convince other person that what to do, how to do, and because of what happens, because of our communication failure, and because the meaning lies with the other person's head also, our communication is never effective. That's why a collaboration works in a smaller group, but the moment numbers are increasing, it becomes very difficult to collaborate. It's just like a school assignment or institute assignment, where if you have more than 20 people, you understand there will be an 80-20 rule that is applicable, that 80% of the work will be done by only 20% of the people. So this thing has been proposed by Mark Elliott. He explained that stigmergic negotiation is one negotiation where the entire interaction that is taking place is indirect, where agents are not talking to each other, they are only working on the part of the problem and interacting based on certain rules. So the entire of idea of gig economy through mass media is again certain reflection of these emergent uh, evolutionary phenomena that we could see, that it is very similar. And if we see in the coming future, this is going to grow further. So Denso is one of the example of one app where uh, it is again a self-organizing but centrally monitored, solution where an app actually provides you a service at your, doorstep. So Denso are a very interesting app. What it does, that it will provide you help at any point of time. So you just need to know if some people are there, and they will deliver anything to any person. So in that particular location. So what happens in this case, if a person who feels he has not eaten anything, or he wants an early breakfast like 6 a.m. or late dinner at 1 or 2 a.m., they will just simply do Denso, and a person will bring that food to them. So it's not just about food, it's about anything. It's like if two families are staying nearby in a city, and you have some some dress or some product that you want to give it to the other person, then you can simply Denso it. A person will come to your house, he will collect this thing, and he will give it to other person. So now Denso has expanded to a different level altogether. They have now providing services of different kind, and that is the beauty. Once you understand your network established, you can grow in different direction. So the fundamental component of Stigmergy is agents, artifacts, and environment. That is something that we have talked about. And then you have a resource that is shared. Now, these resources that are shared, now agents with certain goals and reward about consume the resource or to share the resource, they act in the environment or of a particular task that is there. And the changing in environment, that means the task that has changed the state of work, gives sign to the artifact, and it communicates to the artifact. And this artifact becomes a mediating platform for agents to negotiate with other agents. So that means there is no agent-agent direct interaction that is taking place. All the interactions are taking place through artifacts. So if I try to say in a way that, how we understand the Christmas is coming, or the festivity, how we idea of festivity. The moment we have all these, beautiful artifact outside our house, it creates the idea of community celebration. The idea of festivity is only present because of display of these artifacts. So these artifacts are, there's a simple rule that you have to put it, you have to decorate your house. And through this, a constant, a bigger picture is emerging that, the entire country is celebrating Christmas. So the artifacts constantly give you feedbacks so that it is an error free or error regulatory mechanism, that if something is going in negative direction, you have to act some more on that work. Since it's a distributed channel, a constant feedback mechanism keeps it motivated to reach to the global goal. So if I say what are the other things, so it's like agent 1 gets a feedback about the state of work, it observes the change, it evaluates the choices, that what kind of choices they can do, and it acts. The moment it acts, it again changes the state of the environment or state of the work, and this gives the feedback of the change to the agent. So this constant positive and negative feedback that is arriving at agent, distributed agent, shapes the work. So yeah, so this is it. So the another thing that is very different in human stigmergy than that of natural stigmergy in nature or among the insects is that humans are driven by selfish interest. So in my work, I have evaluated, I have understood the idea of different kinds of motives or goals agents have that can take to design different kinds of stigmergy or different kinds of complex self-organizing system that we can create. So there is one thing when local goals are completely opposite to global goal. This is a condition, and this is a very bad condition, and we could see that is happening right now. And such condition needs to be tackled by providing smaller steps at the local level. Another thing could be, and it gives rises to social dilemma where, everyone is working only for selfish interest and creating an unsustainable, scenario at the global level. Another thing is local action and, local agents that are there. So the local goal is aligned with the global outcome. So this local goal could be an incentive driven one, or because of some important need, like in case of this harassment uh, reporting is something that is a need that they have. They are not getting any incentive out of it. Okay, but then everyone is participating to avoid this problem that they are facing every day. Another thing is when global and local are completely aligned. Okay, so that means when agents, so in the previous one, local is all about where my selfish interest, that means I'm getting incentive to contribute in the global outcome. And the another one where local and global are completely aligned. That becomes the example of Ushahidi, where harassment reporting is a local interest also, and it is aligned with the global outcome also, global goal also. And finally, when global action is completely aligned with the local action. So it is about a complete cooperation where altruist behavior is there. Agents are not doing for selfish interest, but they are doing for a bigger goal. And they becomes the idea of volunteering uh, model of design. So this is some of the comprehensive, model that we can create in the coming future. So this is the future of human swarm design system that is going to happen. So as of now, if we see, most of the system lies in this particular single task system design. This is where we are right now, where uh, a single kind of task is allotted to all the agents and they are working only a single task kind of thing. They could be altruist collaboration, there could be selfish need collaboration, and there could be incentive based collaboration also. On the other hand, if we talk about this right hand side bottom corner, it is dual task interdependent system. It is mostly like Ola, Uber or Dunzo, where one person wants to consume another kind of service, so they are constantly interdependent on each other. Another thing could be where is a triple task interdependent system, where there is a this dual task interdependent system where agents are, one is providing service, one is solving that, and the other person, they could be the volunteer system who are actually providing the information about the state of work. And if we see this multitask interdependent system, this is like much more complex. And if we are talking about this global governance and other system, all these will fall under this category where you have one where agents are actually getting paid out of it. There is one who are reporting the task because of their selfish needs or altruist behavior because of volunteerism. And the other thing is about dependency of give and take service that is there. So that is it. I hope it was not too intense. So I would like to stop it here, and I would like to have more questions now if there is any.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Shanu. It was really exciting, and I hope everybody sees the connection between the first lecture and the second lecture, where you can actually work with this integration, and then from the bottom up you can generate the value, which would be then a value of the community and flourishing community of the concepts. Please, we are happy to take some questions. How much time do you have, Shanu, for questions?
I have enough time, so they can just
Okay.
ask questions, no problem.
Excellent. So please, just feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions.
Yeah, and I hope it was not too intensive, and it was, if there is any question, yes.
I think it was really great. So please. Or maybe they have full head of all the talks, because we have one talk after another, so they maybe need a bit space. maybe I started the discussion for, the discussion about the selfishness. I'm a bit confused, or I mean, I cannot say I would totally agree about the selfishness of humans, and in both ways. I think even the selfish people don't act selfish. You remember the discussion with when I commented on Dermot's talk, that when you have economic model doesn't integrate the entire ecosystem, the economy of that model cannot flourish, because our harvest is dependent on pollinators. If we don't integrate pollinators into our economic model, it means that our pollinators died, then we don't get the harvest. So I would question this notion of selfishness in that level. In the same time, I mean, if everybody was really acting in that local selfish way, I think we wouldn't meet here at this moment discussing what do we do about community in Grangetown, which you will now lead a workshop about actually empowering the community from the up. Why would we care? I mean, well, obviously it's part of my job at the Cardiff University. But I mean, I could come up with some completely selfish task that would take me less time, and so on. So comment on that.
Yeah. So that's very interesting. So what I'm trying to say, Hamari, about some people could be driven because of the global cause. But what happens with the global cause or the idea of climate change, that a lot of people cannot connect it with their local level, because not everyone is, have this talent, or as of now knows this knowledge of complex thinking. So at any point of time, this incentive is very important. So some people, they could be, driven because of the global cause. They are intelligent enough to understand the complexity and their nature of contribution at their level. On the other hand, there could be people who are like free riders, who understand that things are important, but still at that point of time when they have to act, they are not able to act to the full potential, even knowing the thing. So here comes the idea that they know about the global reason that they should perform good thing, just like a carpool. How many people are actually doing carpool, knowing that it might affect only certain group of people, even though a lot of people understand what is the reason behind carpool? And then there's another model, just like Ola or Uber or Zomato, that is completely dependent on interest, that I'm ready to pay. Okay, can we design a better service in that sense, where our interesting services, where we understand human need, that what kind of intervention they require for own comfort, that is completely aligned to the global level scenario. So can we, so in India, if there is a deforestation, can we actually employ people, or can we do this, crowdsourcing, that because there's a lot of unemployment, can we do something that by integrating people who are kind of not doing anything or have good education, they become part of this gig economy, contribute towards the nature, and get some value out of it. Yep. So here we can also provide, so when I'm talking about designer facilitating design tools so that lower or the users become designers by themselves, this is what I mean by that. Some model will work when a person voluntarily want to bring the change. Somewhere we have to tap about the selfish interest. Because people are available, just by providing some incentive, they will work.
You are, yeah. I would comment on that. I know one lady that is not doing financially very well, and it is sort of a non-systemic situation when she is afraid of refugees coming to her country, that they would take her job, whilst she is actually shopping only in those global companies because they have the cheapest cheapest products. And I'm trying to explain to her, you are stealing your job and not shopping locally. If you don't buy local products,
Yes.
there are no jobs for you. But
Yes.
and she understood the system when I explained it to her. It's not refugees stealing your job. It's actually you by your actions stealing yourself job. And she understands the system, but she says, well, in a case I will start shopping locally, which is obviously a bit more expensive, then I don't make economy of my family.
Yeah. So I could see something is written here.
Yeah, there are some comments. Marga is a great presentation, very clear presentation, lots to think about and try to apply when understanding analysis and place. I'm sorry as I need to leave, many thanks. And then we have from Christian Lassi. Hi there, sorry I have no microphone, but I have a question about the swarm theory of the birds. According to the theories of those studying the birds, they seem to suggest that the birds have their own local objectives and are not aware of the impacts of the group. Is there potentially a middle level of awareness that is missing in this model, say an awareness of neighbors in the swarm, or
Yeah.
the local and global binary states in a complex system?
Yes. So this is a very interesting question by Kristen. So basically, this is the entire idea of emergence. That is, uh, if you know about the complexity, you might not able to act upon it. And if you want a distributed system, you don't want one person to do the task. You want collectively each individual to work. Okay, so that's why even if you know about this middle level awareness that is missing, and that is required to be missing. Otherwise, it will, challenge my cognitive capability. And that's why if we talk about middle level at national level, and the topmost level is global level, even national levels are, or policymakers or governance are unable to do the most appropriate thing because our local level interactions are kind of missing. So I hope I'm trying to tell you about this. So yes, what you're saying is right. In another way, what you're saying, or is global and global binary state in complex system? No. So every local goal is giving you certain level of incentive. That means your local goal at the local level, that means agent at the bottommost level, okay, who are performing these tasks at distributed level or pixel level, they have their own goals. They are just part of the global goal. So how much you can gain is based on the amount of work you're going to perform. So I hope I'm making it somehow, I'm able to understand your question and able to somely answer it also, Christine.
Okay,
Thank you.
I have something kind of adding to that.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
so, okay, I understand how sometimes if you're unaware of the, if you are aware of the complexities, it's harder to act upon. But do you think we have some sort of duty to try and understand at least?
Yes.
Or is it better to just focus on, very local? Like where is the line drawn?
So that is a very interesting thing. So like I said, that knowledge is something that keeps growing. Okay.
Yeah.
So imagine we never knew about system thinking in 1970s. We were talking about user as consumer. We never thought that we will ask them user to become a designer also.
Mm-hmm.
From a designer's point of stand. So definitely through experimenting these models, we will grow to that extent that we will be able to explain the same scenario at local level also. Once
Mm-hmm.
these changes are visible, see now in current state, this becomes more relevant because imagine how we are able to understand about pandemic.
Yeah.
It's not a knowledge only to the experts. It is also a knowledge to every bottom level. People understand why do they need to wear mask. A lot of people are in, they don't want to neglect or don't want to be a part of it. But ultimately, we are understanding because of this pandemic that has happened. You know? So
yeah, no, that's true. It's actually true with COVID. I think a lot of people, I mean, for myself at least, I've really started to try and understand why decisions are being made from the government. Like, whereas before I would just be like, okay, they said this, let's do it. But now I'm like trying to understand why, and I think a lot of people are like that.
yes,
Starting to
exactly.
realize. So
So
yeah,
this
okay.
this system thinking will start coming to at the level of user level also. Once we create better networks and solve bigger problems, where we
Right.
make them relevant to a bigger part.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, what is happening? We are taking so many steps for sustainable movement, sustainable design, but all these things are happening in a disconnected way. The idea is to connect these efforts.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any more questions, comments? If not, we have now in UK we have 11:10. Shall we say we meet in 1 hour? So it would be 12:10. Does it sound
Great.
And
Perfect.
we'll have a workshop for us when you will be applying those theories into an app for the community, so the community can build the values from the bottom up with tokens that were discussed by Dermot. So if you start connecting those two lectures together, and yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. Thank you very much, Shanu. It was very great lecture, and see you in 1 hour. We have another link for that talk. You have it all in the calendar, I believe, or for that workshop. So,
Yes, it is.
so please connect in 1 hour, and thanks everybody for attending, and thanks also to people who joined from wherever. I don't really know who everybody has got invited, which is great. So thank you so much, and see you in 1 hour. Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. Thank you so much, Mari, for such a nice. Thank you, Usa.
Thank you.
I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Okay. Thank you, Mari, for such a nice, opportunity to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Very much appreciated.